Hey, it's Joey Balladonna here from Anthrax, and this is SAGAS.
Well,
look, this is a big one.
I didn't break out and join the podcast today.
It is now time for Devil's Advocate. Same time, same place, awesome.
What's going on, everybody? This is Corbin, the Serpent Tongue Skipwith, and I have a very special guest today. If you want to introduce yourself.
My name is Loïc, and I'm the guitarist of the metal band Phenomy.
Thank you so much for joining me. And a little word to the audience: my camera's fucking up. I don't know why. So every few seconds, I might have to turn my camera on and off, but just ignore that if you can. So I'm very happy to talk to you. We'll be talking about your 2022 album, Syndicate of Pain, which, funny story, I thought this was still coming out. I know this is a full album, so it's a funny story. But anyway, I got to find the album. I love the album, but I'm going to have the guy from the album talk about himself. So, okay, so first thing I want to know, starting from scratch, before this album was even written, before it was produced, what was going through your guys' minds? How did this album come to be?
All right, so basically we started the band started in 2014, and we were influenced by old school thrash metal, like old school Testament, Metallica, and then some of Pantera as well. We went to the more groovy bands like Pantera, Machine Head. So these were our main influences, and these were the bands that we like to sound like. So the first album was really old school thrash metal. The second album went back to like more tribal, ethnic vibes, because I was born in Ivory Coast, and the drummer also has African roots. So we wanted to introduce these elements that we got inspired from Sepultura, for example, Gojira as well. So on the third album, we wanted to go a bit more modern, forget about the old school ways, find something more interesting, fresh. And this is where we decided, to drop the guitars, to drop C. I started composing the thing on drop C. So automatically, when you change tuning on guitar, it influences the way you play. And so the kind of composing changes. So this was mainly the first input of the album, the first thing that made it a bit different. But then again, we were composing it, and I think by end of 2020, mid 2021, it was already written, composed, and fully done. But then COVID hit, we were locked down, the Lebanese economics crashed. So we had to postpone everything to later, to whenever COVID would leave us alone for a bit. So this is when, while in lockdown, you're sitting at home, nothing's open, you're depressed, and I always try to make something out of nothing. So I had an album that wasn't released, so I said, let's have fun with that. How can we make it even more interesting? And then we did earlier a music video for a cover of Metallica that is The Memory Remains. And it was about an asylum where you can see us as hostages in prisons, as insane in this facility, being manipulated by this evil scientist. So I went from there and I started writing a story according to the songs I already written for Syndicate of Pain. And then it all came together and became a concept album. So yeah, that's basically it. It goes from the first album, first music video until now, and we kind of took all the stories, mixed them all together, and this is how Syndicate of Pain was, at least the concept was created.
Nice. I love that. I find that, what? I'm just going to do this. The camera keeps screwing up. So sorry about the video. It's going to be today. But so I find it really interesting, COVID, because COVID hit the whole world. Like nothing has ever that I've been alive has it affected everywhere in the world at the same time. It's really crazy when you think about that because it hit me in Australia, it hit you guys, it hit everywhere around the world. I've talked to so many artists from different countries, and they say they got hit. It's just really it's really mind blowing when you think about it. How COVID hit everyone at this. It's the first time. I'm pretty sure I had a guest on ages ago who said this is the first time the world is experiencing the same thing together. And I was like, yeah, like in our lifetime, this would be the first time, I think. So yeah, I obviously I understand how COVID felt because I went through it as well. So tell me, what makes this album, in your words, different than anything else you've released?
Well, as I said, it was first of all us wanting to make something more modern, sounding more modern. We didn't want to go for the janty core modern metal, but we wanted to sound at least a bit more, production-wise, a bit more modern. Having there's some electronic elements in the album. There are some cinematic effects. So in that manner, we wanted to sound a bit different than what we used to do. And also the lockdown and making a concept album was something I never thought I would do. I never was a writer. I just write lyrics from whatever I get inspired from, mainly comics, TV series, stuff I see in Lebanon. It's very entertaining what you see on the TV, all the problems we face there. So, but this is the first time I really took the time to write a story, a story that someone would like sometime read. It follows it's storytelling actually. So, and making like just thrash songs or whatever metal songs and give lyrical meaning to them, but in the same way make them all join the same universe was something that I found really interesting for me to try and do. And since we launched it, I think it started something new in the band, and it made us more excited to work on new stuff, continue the story. And I think when people will start understand what's going on, because it's still fresh and it's really hard to get there nowadays to make it in the music industry. So we're trying as much as we can to get the idea to people so they can understand what's going on with Phenomy, trying to make this universe. And then as soon as people understand what's going on, they're going to start following it from album to album, as we are doing right now. So we already thought about what will be the story on the next album and how it will go from this one, from Syndicate of Pain to the next chapter. So this is very interesting for us. It's exciting to work on that, and we're looking forward for what will come next.
One thing that really surprised me, the first thing that surprised me in a good way about this album is the intro. It sounded very interesting. I was like, oh, is this techno? Like, is this electronic? Which I don't care. Like I love that kind of music. So what inspired that intro? Noel?
Basically, we're not the type of band who's gonna think like, oh, our fans, the old school metal guys, they're gonna hate us for it. We just thought, do we want to sound like that? Do we like it? And then we thought, yes, it would sound cool because we're going for a horror theme. And as I said, we were trying to make something new, fresh, different. And putting electronic music was something that, like a few years ago, if you asked me, I would say Phenomy would never do that, would never go into these steps. But we did it. I wrote the intro. I worked a bit around trap music, cinematic music, because I'm a big fan of cinematic artists like Hans Zimmer, Danny Elfman, and all these great composers. So I joined these words and I tried to make something electronic, modern, whatever you're gonna call it. But for me, it just vibes fine with the album. It just fits the album, and it sounds dark enough. So we thought it sounded good, so we put it as an intro. That's it.
Nice. I like that you guys, stepped outside the box, so to speak, with that intro. It really does leave an impression. It makes the album start off with a bang. It makes it memorable enough that the album starts on a good note. So good job to you guys.
Thank you.
So this album is 10 tracks long. Was there any songs that were left out? Any songs, was there plans to make it longer, shorter? Was it always 10?
Yeah, of course. Like when we compose an album, I have like a bunch of riffs, just like riff one, riff. They have weird names, like pickle, tite pickle, whatever, S bump, dickhead. So it's just like riffs with different names, and then it's just send them to the guys, and if they like it, we keep it. If they don't, so we just drop it. But then we have tons of riffs. If you want, it's not complete songs, just like riffs, ideas, maybe sometimes just lyrical themes or just graphical ideas that we say we're gonna work on that, but then it just doesn't fit the whole bunch, so we drop it. But yeah, and there's a ton of music that we also took from previous albums, stuff that weren't released before that we use now. For example, the title track, Syndicate of Pain, was actually from the first album. There was supposed to be a track called Syndicate of Pain, and it just didn't fit the album. So we moved it to the second album, and then on the second album, it was the same thing. It didn't work, so we moved it now, and now we found something that Syndicate of Pain would fit in, and this is how the title track came in. And this is why we named the album Syndicate of Pain, because it followed us through the 3 albums, and finally we could write a song that fit in the name Syndicate of Pain. So
nice.
Yeah.
I love that story. Yeah, because I can imagine as an artist or a band, it must be hard to make, you have all these tracks, and it must be hard to decide which goes where, and the order, especially I can imagine for myself, it would be hard to decide what song goes number 2, 3, 4, if there's a specific order. So, good job to you guys for making that work. Tell me, track 8 is 8 minutes and 52 seconds, Beyond the Wall of Sleep. Tell me, what's it like trying to write and record and produce a song of that length?
Yeah, so whenever we're working on an instrumental, the first thing is like we try to keep one song where there's no vocals that would make it sound better, and that is fun for us to play.
Yeah,
because we love to just jam, no singing, nothing, just jam, pure instrumentals. And sometimes these songs tend to take you to journeys that take a bit more time than the usual song. And this one, there's the intro that is really heavy, the riff, the main riff, and then you go through the chorus that is like a bit more moody, ambient, and then you go through the middle part, which was, I think, for me very interesting to compose, because I never composed anything like that before, because guitar wise it has some techniques that I never used before. And so going from part to part from this mood to this other mood is something we enjoy doing. We enjoyed mixing a song that has all these elements and that takes you places. So it's really fun to work on these one. I think this was one of the most interesting tracks we've ever worked on. And specifically because it's influenced by a story I already know. It's a story from Lovecraft.
Yep.
He's a fictional horror writer, and it's called Beyond the Wall of Sleep, and it's influenced by, it's just like your when you read the story and you're thinking about it, you're imagining it, and then a music comes to your head,
Yep.
that fits the mood of the story. this is what you actually hear in the track. So it goes through the mood of the story. The middle part has significant in the story that Lovecraft wrote. And if you take the whole story as it was written by Lovecraft, it fits also the story that I wrote, because it talks about an inmate, a man that was in the prison, a serial killer that was in a prison, and that fits a lot the story that we are working on. So it was perfect to pay a tribute to a writer that at least I am really influenced by, and to make it work with the rest of the stuff that we worked on.
Nice. So what was the hardest track to record on this album?
The hardest track. I remember we had lots of trouble choosing tones, not really a specific track. But the hardest track to finalize, I think, was Bone Orchid.
Yeah.
It was Bone Orchid because Bone Orchid is the only song that was really different from the whole bunch. It's the only one that has different techniques that you can hear in the whole album. It has a bit more like it's much more melodic than the rest of the stuff.
Yeah.
And the vocals as well has parts that we are not used to hear from ourselves. We heard bands that hit that note, but we personally never went there to this style of composing and writing. So this is the one that every time we heard it, we found it weird. So we try to redo it and redo it and redo it until we found a mix or a production that would fit the whole thing. So yeah, I'd say Bone Orchid was the toughest to completely produce.
Yeah. And what about the easiest song?
The easiest was, I think, Ominous.
Yeah.
It's we already knew how it would sound like, because it's not the one that has least elements. On the contrary, it has lots of elements in the end. You have the choir, you have the acoustic guitar that was recorded with 7 mics.
Oh, wow.
So it really sounds, you can hear my finger ticking the notes. But we already know, as soon as you hear that riff, you know that how it's gonna sound. It has that Slayer / if you want a bit like Slayer Machine Head kind of vibe.
Yeah.
So we knew already how we wanted it to sound, and it just came just like smoothly. Even when I composed it, I remember it was like, okay, what comes after this riff? And directly something would pop in that would fit just right in. It was the easiest to produce for me.
You must love when certain songs hit you like that. Just easy, just comes naturally. So it makes it easier for you.
Yeah, of course. It's just like you're jamming the riff, and then something comes out, and then the next thing comes out. You feel like it's like that works well. When it comes at once, that's it. You're not gonna think about it like 1,000 times. As soon as it works from the first time, we just keep it this way. With solos, it's the same thing. Lots of guitar solos are played directly in the studio, and if we hear that it fits the song, we just fix the parts that need to be fixed, but we keep the solo as is, because it worked from the first time. I personally think that this is the one that must be in the song.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Now, one thing I want to ask is the album cover. How did that come around?
Yeah, so as I said, we went through the story, we wrote the story, and then we wanted something that would. I remember saying that let's do something, because we already made the first 2 albums. There was the first one, there was the tree man in front, there was a character.
Yeah.
The second one, there was the Tiki mask, which has Maori roots from your neighbors from New Zealand. So the third one, we said we don't want one character, because the first one had one character, the second one had just the mask, and now we wanted something that had, a scenery, just to show that it's a concept album. It's a if you want, it's a cinematic project. So this is where I said, let's make something that doesn't have just one object in the middle that will be the only focus. Let's make like a scene.
Yep.
And from what the lyrics we wrote, from the story we're telling, we came up. We just were having like I remember it was like a chili pasta we were having in dinner that our drummer makes, and we were talking about it, and I said, what about cocoons? Because cocoons, they have a weird form, and I said, what about if we make cocoons where there are people trapped inside it, and actually these people will be the ones that are being misled and mistreated by the scientists. So visually, as an idea, it sounded good, but to make it, to realize it was a bit tough, to explain it, just to explain to someone we want cocoons that go in a cave and then people inside it. But then again, I was following an artist on Instagram, and his name is Stefan Coyle. And I remember having one of his artworks as a wallpaper when I was younger. And I said, for me, I thought if I contact him, he will be like very expensive or something. But I sent him an email, and the second day he replied, and he was very interested in the idea. And like, I don't know, maybe in 2-3 days, he had it done.
Yeah.
In 2-3 days, we had the artwork done, and it was amazing. We just looked at it and was like, yeah, that's it. That fits the album. These are the colors we need, because that is very important as well. It's I don't know if there's other bands that do that, but when we start with a new album, we say, okay, we're going to write the next album. We choose a color theme.
Yeah.
So, for example, the first one was gray.
Yeah.
So it was the first album. The second one, we said it's going to be blue. Just before we decide on anything else, we just said we're going to go for that color. And from that color, we start to get, inspired and get graphic and musical ideas.
Yeah.
So this one, it was purple. For Syndicate of Pain, we said we want purple because there's no reason, actually. It's just that we said it's gonna be purple, and then this is how we told Stefan we need the album to has lots of purple. This is the main colored theme of the record.
Yeah. Nice. No, that's really cool, and yeah, just the album cover, when I was listening to the album, was also very mesmerizing, because when you're listening to the album, you're also looking at the cover at the same time. So it does fit hand in hand. Very cool. Yeah. So have you guys already toured playing this music yet?
Yeah, we played few shows like last year, because we released it in March 2022, and then we were just going out of COVID. So the music industry is just like saturated with bands, and all the bands want to go back on tour. All the bands want to go back to festivals.
Yeah.
So we had the chance to play in 2 festivals last year. And so this is where we played for the first time some of the songs. And we did a show in Beirut as well, where we played like 6 tracks of the album. So yeah, I think we had these 3 shows where we played like 6 or 7 tracks of the album, and the feedback was good. We were, you never know what to expect when you played something different than what the crowd is expecting, because especially in Beirut, they've been watching us since 2014, playing this same old school thrash metal,
Yeah.
And now playing this intro. I remember when we played this intro, I was looking at, the faces, what's happening, what's going on. Is it really Phenomy that's coming on stage? So, yeah, it's exciting to see how people would react to your choices, your ideas, even though you know that some of them would, they hate the modern shit. They would go like, fuck modern music, we're old school. I understand them completely, but it's our journey, and we decided to go to a much modern sound, and this is how it is.
Yeah, nah, I can respect, the drive to do something new, to kind of push the boundaries a bit, regardless of how the fans might react. It's a very bold move.
Yeah.
But you decided
Yes.
it's your journey, as you said, so it should be up to you what kind of music you make.
Yeah, actually, because when we started, in Lebanon, you don't have past bands, bigger, older bands than us. They did some cool stuff, abroad. They could reach some good levels, but we don't want to follow steps. We just want to make our own. A band coming from Lebanon, we don't want to be just the typical band that play Oriental music, or Arabic music, because we come from Lebanon. Lebanon has lots of cultures. It has an open-mindedness that is amazing. So we didn't want to stick to this Oriental band that comes from the Middle East. We come from the Middle East, but we can play, any music we like. Either it was modern thrash metal, groove metal, tribal, ethnic music influenced by African beats, Brazilian beats, whatever. So yeah, this was the point of the band since the beginning. We didn't just want to be a Middle Eastern band that would, use Oriental instruments, or just use. We would love to. We used Oriental music, but we just don't want to be just labeled as this kind of band, this Oriental metal band.
Yeah.
Because Mirath already did it. Orphaned Land already did it. Lebanese metal band Black Yam are just hitting this vibe, just using Lebanese music, Oriental music, and making metal music out of it, which is great. It sounds amazing. But for us, we just don't want to be just stuck in this field. We want to explore whatever we love to. And I think this is what makes us different from Middle Eastern bands.
Yeah. No, you're completely correct, and it does give you that unique sound, which I think is really cool. So are you when you play this music live, do you play like the whole album from start to finish live, or pick and choose?
No, we use the album as if it was a non-concept album. We use it as it was just tracks, When it comes to live, it just, because if you listen to the song itself, it has a meaning by itself. You don't have to listen to the other stuff to understand what it means, So
Yeah.
every track can be separated from the bunch, and it fits well with other stuff, because one of our main influences is Metallica, and I think Metallica, what they did with their music is like they went from old school thrash metal, then they did like country music, and then they did rock music. And when they play it live, it sounds fine. You can listen to this and that, and then enjoy the show. So for us, we don't have to stick in, if this is a concept album, we're gonna play it from A to Z. It doesn't mean anything to us in this way. We just like to play the tracks according to how we feel that day, what kind of vibes we're gonna go through, and it's very important for us because you understand each kind of audience. For example, we know Lebanese people, for example, they love extreme music, they love headbanging, and they love, of course, breakdowns. So when we play in Lebanon, we make sure that the set list have a bunch of breakdowns. In Czech Republic, for example, they are a bit different. They prefer the fast stuff. They like to, just go full on headbang for like 2 hours and then leave, So we kind of use that and how we can enjoy the same set list with the audience, and we go on with it.
Yeah, nice. Would you ever consider doing it in the future? Just playing the whole set, the whole album?
Why not? Maybe someday would mean for us something to play, maybe some anniversary or some event that would require us to play the song from start to finish. It would be fun as well. It would be cool, but it's not just something we plan to do like in a regular event or just for us to play the album from A to Z. It doesn't make sense to us in this way.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. So can you tell me anything about what you and the band have going forward? What plans do you have? Anything you can tell us, or any tour dates, or anything at all?
Yeah, for now, we are working on what's coming for 2023. We already announced 2 festivals in Czech Republic. The first one will be on the 6th, 7th, and 8th of July. It's called South of Heaven Open Air Festival, and we'll be headlining one of the nights with some local bands. It will be very cool, because Czech Republic is a country that we played like I think 4 or 5 times now, and we already have friends now. They're not fans anymore. They're just friends that we just go and hang out with, So that's the first one, and the second one will be at the end of July. It will be on the 29th. It's called Ostrava. Ostrava v Plamenach, which means Ostrava and fire. This one is gonna be it will be the second time we perform in this festival. The first time was in 2019, and it was amazing. We got a good feedback, and now they want us back, so we're going back this year. It's gonna be we are making a show that will be a bit different from what they saw previously, because before we went just playing thrash metal and that was it. Now there'll be a bit more like a stage design, more like more of a show for them, and we're quite looking forward to it. Other than that, I'm trying to also find some dates here in France. I live now in France, and we're trying to fix a tour in France, so that I can't say much about it now, but we will announce pretty soon.
Nice. I've never been to France. Have you tried eating snails?
Snails, it's a common dish in Lebanon as well. My mother loves it. I never tried. I will never try, because everything that's too
slimy.
So yeah, it's just doesn't attract me. I like big fat burgers, steaks. This is my kind of food.
What kind of food do they have? Like, do they have many burger places like in France? Do they have a lot of like food like that?
Yeah, we have lots of kebabs. We have lots of burger joints. We have traditional restaurants as well. But personally, I prefer, get my own beef and make it at home and grill it at home. This is my favorite kind of
nice
food. I don't like to go out much.
I love it. I love a good burger.
Yeah.
The day before, we had homemade Wagyu beef burger.
What's that? I never.
It's like a premium beef. Like,
okay.
It's hard to describe, but it was like very delicious beef, and yeah.
Right.
I love burgers.
Do you eat the meat completely grilled, or you like it like rare?
No, I like mine well done.
Well done. Okay.
I can't. Yeah, I don't like them. Whenever I see red, I'm like, nope.
Yeah. I think it's very common here in France to have like blue meat. They eat it like they just put it a bit on the fire, and then here you go.
I don't get that.
Yeah.
I could not do this. That's insane.
I think it depends on the meat as well. It's not all meat can be cooked this way.
Yeah, exactly. No, thank you. So you said earlier, if I'm not mistaken, that you're inspired by comics. Is that correct? Yes. Actually, let's see if my camera works, because I got something to show you. You like it? My Batman fidget spinner.
Yeah, man.
And my camera sucks today. But yeah, so I love comics. Is Batman your favorite comic?
Yeah. Since I was a kid, I was fascinated by this character, the dark side of this silent hero, it was very fascinating to me. And since I was a kid, uncles and parents called me like Batman since I was young. And I grew up just, with the culture, I don't really enjoy all comics, by the way. Batman is my top favorite because it's, down to earth. It's closer to what you could really live in real life. Losing parents, murders. So for me, Batman is my favorite. I love Daredevil as well. Spider-Man quite a bit as well. So I prefer the darker heroes, darker stuff. Superman and the Avengers and all this kind of stuff. It's not like my type. I'm not too attracted to them. I enjoy like watching them once, but like the last Batman that came out, the new one, I like watched it like now 7 times.
Nice. I watched it in the movies.
Yeah. I think for the first time they really did a good job taking the comics and making a movie out of it, not just like making whatever works in the cinema nowadays,
Yeah. So who's your favorite Batman? For me, it will always be Christian Bale.
Yeah,
I think he's the perfect.
I understand why someone would say Christian Bale. I understand why someone would say Michael Keaton. I understand why would someone say Robert Pattinson, and I understand why someone would say Ben Affleck. So Ben Affleck is the one that looks the most like the 1992 animated series.
Yeah.
Christian Bale is just the best actor.
Yeah.
For me, he did the best Bruce Wayne, if you want. Then Michael Keaton, because it was Tim Burton. He is the gothic Batman, the most, as costume wise, mood wise, the Gotham City, how it was done in the Tim Burton movies was my favorites. And Robert Pattinson, just like because the story of that movie follows the comics. But if I had to choose one between of them, I'd say probably Michael Keaton or Christian Bale. Yeah, Michael Keaton as a movie, but Christian Bale as an actor, as a Batman.
Yeah, for me, like especially the third movie with Bane, Dark Knight Rises. I just like how doomy, how gloomy it feels. Like it just feels you can feel the hopelessness of how strong Bane is, and the way they made Bane. Oh, that was so good. Like,
well, Tom Hardy is one of my favorites as well. So just having him with Christian Bale in one movie just makes things just better. But I think the only downside for me of Christopher Nolan's movies is just that they lack the part where Batman really can fight, because it is always taking a beating in these movies.
Yeah.
So you rarely see him really fight and beat asses, kick asses. It's mainly using gadgets and using effects in some way, but you rarely see Batman as the detective guy that, street fighter kind of character. This is the only downside on Christopher Nolan movies.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, because I do have I do own a few comics. I own the Nightfall comic where Bane breaks Batman's back. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure it's smart that Christopher Nolan didn't have Batman fist fight Bane.
Yeah.
I think you would have killed.
I mean, if you want to make a very tough Bane, you have to show him this way. You have to see him break the Batman, but it was too much throughout, because I've watched all the movies and I know them by heart. I know that most of the times you can see Batman hopeless, like getting a beating, and this is the only thing that I thought could be better in these movies. But actually they are masterpiece, especially in the Dark Knight Rises, the snow in the end, the post-apocalyptic city is just beautiful cinema.
Yeah, Yeah, they are fantastic movies. So look, so you have, so it sounds like you have a lot planned for 2023. You've just made, you guys came off 2022 with an incredible album, and yeah, I know that you guys have a lot of bright things ahead of you. So I have one question to ask you: if you were stuck on a desert island and you could only listen to one album for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Whoa, full album for the rest of my life. Can I choose two? Two albums?
I will let you choose two for the first time ever.
No, I'm not gonna break your rules. So I'm gonna choose my favorite album of all time, which is "And Justice for All" by Metallica.
And why that album?
Because first of all, it for me, Blackened is my favorite track ever written. I can't hear it enough and say, okay, I'm tired of it. I'm not gonna hear it anymore.
Yeah.
As an intro, it's amazing. Then you have from Blackened to "And Justice for All" to One to Harster of Sorrow to all the album has all the moods that if you feel down, you can listen to One. If you want something more energetic, you can listen to Blackened. If you want, something really moody, really beautiful, you go to Live Is to Die. So for me, it has all the elements that I would, if you say one album that I will hear all my life, this album has everything that I would like to listen to for the rest of my life.
Nice. I've thought about that, because I asked that question to a lot of bands and artists, and I think about it myself, and I think I would, I have so many different answers over the years, but I think I'd have to choose. In my opinion, I'd probably choose something like ambient. Like, I don't know if you heard it, Brian Eno, Music for Airports. It's such a soft album, but I feel like if I choose an album after so many years, I might get bored of it. But ambient, it just relaxes you.
This is why I asked you, can I choose two? Because
what was your second?
My second one would be a concert that Hans Zimmer did in Prague. It's Hans Zimmer live in Prague. It will be it's just like you said, there's lots of ambient stuff. It's really cinematic. Musically, it's beautiful. You have the whole bunch, everything from the Lion King like soundtracks to the Amazing Spider-Man to Pirates of the Caribbean to Interstellar. So this album has everything you need to hear your whole life, so that would have been my second guess. My second choice.
It's funny. Do you watch Harry Potter? Have you seen?
No, I never watched it. I had fights with friends like, what? You've never seen Harry Potter? Because I'm a fan of series movies that go to trilogies. One of my favorites is Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. But yeah, Harry Potter, I tried. It's not that I never tried, but every time I tried, I got bored from the first movie and I never continued it.
Fair enough. Well, one of the actors in that movie, the side characters, he was asked the same question. He was asked, if you could only bring one thing to the desert island, what would you bring? And he said, a book, How to Make a Raft.
Yeah.
I think that's smart. Get off the island. But yeah, I thought it was funny.
It's kind of clever.
Yeah, some smart answers. So cool. This has been a great interview, especially because it was only last week I talked to your PR guy, and it was good that he let me introduce you to this album. So I'm very happy, and I think it's been a great interview.
Thank you so much for having us. It's the first time we get mentioned on a Australian podcast or channel. It's gonna be on YouTube, right?
Yeah, it will. Yes.
So on your YouTube channel. So thank you very much for having us. It was really cool chatting with you. And Australia is definitely one of the countries we dream of performing in, and hopefully very soon.
Yeah, because once you come to Australia, make sure you come to Melbourne. That's the city I live, the state. And once you come to Melbourne, we can chill in person, get some burgers, relax.
Oh yeah, that will be the first thing to do. Make the burgers. But yeah, as soon as I get an offer, as soon as I get an opportunity, I'll not think twice. I'll let you know, man.
Nice. Well, no, this has been good, and I'll get this posted out as soon as I can, and I'll let you know when it's done.
Perfect.
Oh, thank you again.
So have a good day, and thanks to whoever will watch us and listen to us. And hope to see you very soon, my friend.
Yeah, definitely will. Have a good day.
See ya, bro.